Thanks for joining us for this week's Real Life Church podcast. We'd love to know if God is using this ministry to bless you in some way. And if you'd like to share your story or get connected at Real Life Church, you can visit us online at livereallife.com.
All right. Well, good morning. Oh, come on. You doing better than that? You're in church. Good morning. Better. All right. Hey, it's so awesome to be able to be with you guys today. My name is Chris Sonksen, and as Jason said, founding pastor of South Hills Church, founder of Church Boom. We'll talk about that in a minute. But as Jason said earlier, giving honor where honor is due, I want to let you know that I travel all across this nation all the time and do a lot of flying and all that, and see a lot of pastors, and we know a lot of pastors. But I'm going to tell you, now don't clap yet, because I'm going to give you a chance to do that, but I want to tell you that you have amazing, incredible, life-giving pastors in Pastor Jason and Jennifer. Let me tell you, it is hard to be a pastor. I know that. I live it. It is hard to be a pastor, but your pastor loves you very much, loves this church, cares about your family, cares about your kids in a big way, and you are super, super blessed to have him. So, on the count of three, I want you to give him an enormous hand. I want you to pretend that your team just won the Super Bowl. Louder than that, would you do me a favor and let's give honor where honor is due to Pastor Jason and Jennifer. Let's show them some love, how much we appreciate them. Come on. Keep it going, a little louder, a little louder. Come on. Woo! Watching his face turn red is just worth it all. It is so awesome to be able to be with you guys. You got amazing pastors, and it's an honor and joy to work with Pastor Jason and helping this church. And a little bit about me. I am the founder of South Hills and also Church Boom. We are going to rescue some churches today. You may not know this, but 3 churches close for every one that open. Did you catch that? Every time a church opens, 3 close. Right now, America's closing 150 to 200 churches per Sunday. And we want to do something about that. How many believe we got to do something about that? Or it's not going to be the same America as we continue to move forward. We've got to do something. We're going to talk about that at the end, give you an opportunity to do that and help us rescue some churches across the nation. We'll talk about that. A little bit more about me, and more importantly, I have been married for 34 years. Oh, yeah. To a beautiful Mexican woman. And she's hot. And I call her my hot tamale. And no, she doesn't speak any English, but that helps us get along. No, I'm totally playing. But she's awesome. We have 2 children. We have 3 grandchildren. We have a 5-year-old, 2-year-old, and a 6-week-old, which is absolutely awesome. Now, let me tell you about us. Our family, we're from Southern California. We are a baseball family. And we absolutely, by the way, we went to a game last night. Pastor Jason took me to the, what are they called again? Dragons team last night. And every song that comes out, your pastor knows that song. And his moves are unbelievable. Very John Travolta. And But we love baseball. My family, we absolutely love baseball. And we've been to all, my son and I, we've been to all 30 stadiums. When my son was born, he was the second. My daughter came first, then my son. When he was born, I was just like, man, God, let him be a left-hander. Because if you know anything about baseball, being a lefty is a big deal. So I was like, God, make him a lefty, you know. And so anyway, so he's born, and he's 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. I can't tell if he's a lefty or righty. Sometimes he eats with his left hand, sometimes he eats with his right hand. And so I can't tell. So I just figure he's a righty like the rest of us. And so I get him a glove on the, he's about 4 years old. The Bible says, train your child in the ways of the Lord. So I did, got him a glove, and put him out in the front yard, and he's 4 years old, and I throw the ball to him, and I said, son, throw the ball like this back to dad. You know, so I threw the ball to him. It bounced out of his glove. He grabs the ball, and he throws it like this. And I thought, oh, dear God, he can't throw. This is not good. This is not Christ-like. And so I said, son, I go, come on now, you can throw it like this, you know. So I throw the ball to him again. He catches it. He throws it like this. 4 years old. I'm like, this is a nightmare. And so then I throw the ball again. It goes over his head. He throws the glove down. He runs towards the ball, picks it up with his left hand. And before I could say, hey, man, you're throwing with the wrong hand, he fires the ball at me. And that's when you heard the angels sing, because we realized At that moment, he's left-handed. It was like, ah, you could hear the angels, and it was incredible because I was like, thank God he's lefty. So now he starts, we put him into baseball right away, and we play all year long in California because of the weather, so we play all year around. 4 years old, he's in baseball. 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. He's getting baseball pitching lessons. I even had a tattoo put on his left arm that said 401k. I was thinking about my retirement, and he's playing baseball. 7 years old, we're playing baseball. We're a baseball family. One day he comes home, and I'm home in the middle of the day, which is very abnormal, but I was home that day. He comes running in, and he's waving a flyer at me. And he's like, Dad, I want to sign up for this. I want to sign up. I'm like, what? No, let me sign up, please, Dad. He's 7 years old. I'm like, okay, let me see it. Just calm down. I grab the flyer, and I look at it, and it's a sign up for a soccer league. We have some non-believers in the house, and he sends it. I look at it, and I looked at my son. I'm looking at the flyer. I said, son, we don't do that in this house. I said, we're Christians, and so but Dad, I want to sign up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, fine, we'll sign up. So I sign him up. Now it's opening day. You ever been to opening day? You know what opening day is like for Little League soccer, football, all that. All the little kids line up. They get their little individual pictures. Then they do a group shot. Then they got the little banner of their little team's name. So he's on a little 7 and 8 year old team. I get there to this day, right? He's on the little team. He's got his little team, whatever. And I'm looking at all the teams. I'm observing all the soccer teams. You got the Jaguars, the Tigers, the Lions, the Panthers, the Cougars. You get to my son's team, and they're named the Bumblebees. How do you have any confidence named the Bumblebees? You know, and my poor son, and they were just horrible. They were lousy at soccer. They were so bad that at the end of the year, they were 0-15. They had never won a game. And the team we were playing at the very end was 15-0. And they had never lost a game. So the coach brought the team together. Okay, kids, we're going to do it today. We're going to win our first game. I'm like, this ain't going to happen. But we're going to do it. And he kept saying this phrase, protect your territory. The coach. He would say, man, if you're over here, protect your territory. If you're over here, protect your territory. If you're the goalie, help me out. What did we say? Protect your what? Always protect your territory. So he would tell them. Well, clearly they never listened because they never won. So last game, they're 0-15. The team we're playing is 15-0. Okay? Now the game starts and they're off and going. Now they have a kid on the other team, little Mexican boy. Whenever he would get the ball, the dad would yell out whatever words in Spanish. And I don't speak Spanish, even though I'm married to a Mexican. He says he would yell out stuff in Spanish, and whatever he would yell out, the little kid would score every time. It was 1-0, 5-0, 8-0, 19-0. It was like 21-0 when we got to halftime. And the little bumblebees came in with their broken wings. They're like, it was a disaster. And I love it because the coach is like, okay, kids, you're doing great. And I'm like, what team are you watching? They're horrible. And so anyway, they're at halftime, and then they go back out. Now they go back out, and they start playing again. Now it's 22-0, 24, 28. And every time the kid gets the ball, the dad on the other side yells out in Spanish, and he scores every time. And so it's like 28-0, 29-0, something like that. We're losing 29-0, and they blow the little whistle. 2 minutes to go. They play a little more. There's about a minute left on the clock. With 1 minute on the clock, the ball comes right here. I'm on the sideline, and here comes little Pele, that little kid. And he comes around this way, and now listen, the kid on the other team, he starts going the wrong way. And the dad yelling out in Spanish had to be yelling he's going the wrong way. But I don't want the kid to hear his dad, because it occurred to me, this is our only chance to score. If this kid doesn't score for us, we're not going to get on the board. And so he comes like this, little Pele, and the dad starts yelling out. He's going the wrong way. I don't want him to hear his dad. So I run with the kid down the sideline, yelling at him so he doesn't hear his dad in the only Spanish words I know. I'm like, aquí, andale, trying to get him. And he ends up scoring for our team. Yeah. And the best part was our team picks him up and put him on their shoulders. The little kid's all confused. We lost 29-1. We got one because of the other team. Now, the coach the entire time would always yell out, help me out one more time, protect your what? Always. And if you think about it in sports, protect your territory is it. Soccer, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever, is always protect your territory. That's not only true in sports, it's also true in war. If you think about even in war, if one country fights another country, that country's saying, you have the land that we want. You have the money we want. You have the resources we want. In other words, we're fighting you because we want your territory. That is, you guys, listen, that is not only true in our own world physically, but it's also true in the spiritual world. There is an enemy that is always trying to attack our territory. Let me show you what I mean. Here's your territory. Probably looks a little like this. This is you. That's you in the middle, all looking all happy. Relationships, children, marriage, finances, career, spiritual life. We all have stuff inside of our territory. And the enemy is always coming to battle us inside of that territory. He's always coming to take away that territory from my life. Now, there is a great portion of Scripture. If you have a Bible, go to Mark chapter 5. We're going to go, if you don't have a Bible, next time at a hotel, get one. They're free. But Mark chapter 5, okay, take a look at it. Mark chapter 5, and here's a story. Now listen, if you'll lean in this morning, if you'll lean in like you've never leaned in before, if you'll take notes, maybe you've never done that before, really pay attention. Here's what I really believe. This conversation between Jesus and a demon-possessed guy could absolutely change your life. This is the epitome of good versus evil in Mark chapter 5, and I really believe that it could change your life if you really lean in. So I always say when at the church where we founded, I say, everybody get it, and they say, got it. Everybody get it? Good. All right. Let's look at Mark chapter 5. Here we go. Okay, verse 1. They went across the lake of the region of Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit, that's the demon-possessed guy, came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain, for he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. Now, picture this story with me if you could, okay? Jesus tells the disciples, hey, let's go over to this area called Gerasenes. They all get into this boat. They row over. This is how they row. They row over to the other side. They get there to the other side. Jesus gets out of the boat. See what that would look like in your mind's eye. Jesus gets out of this boat. You can see him. He walked up a shore, because normally you walk up on a shore from a ocean and a shore. So Jesus gets out of the boat. He's walking up on the shore. He's in the sand, and all of a sudden, this guy comes towards him that's demon-possessed, and now they're about to have a conversation. This is an intense moment. Let's look at it in verse 6. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." Let's stop there. Now, up to this point, we're probably thinking that Jesus is having a conversation with a demon-possessed man. But I would argue that Jesus is having a conversation with a demon, and here's why. Because the man comes running up, and they're talking, and he says, "Jesus, Son of the Most High God." The disciples, most of them at this point, they didn't even know he was the Son of God. If they didn't know he was the Son of God, how would this guy know? How would this guy that's living in tombs and cutting himself know? He wouldn't know. I argue this: Jesus is not speaking to a demon-possessed man. He's speaking to a demon. This is an intense moment that's happening between Jesus and this demon. Ready? Here we go. Then, this is interesting, verse 8 through 10. This part is hilarious to me, and maybe you won't find the humor. I do. For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Now, let's stop right there. I want you to imagine what this would look like. Jesus walks up off the shore, gets out of the boat, walks up, the demon comes there, and there's this intense moment, and the first words out of Jesus is, "Come out of this man." I don't think it was casual, like, you know what, if you want to come out, come out. I think it was more intense, like, get out, just this strong, come out of this man. But look what he says. After this strength, come out of this man, then he says, yeah, and by the way, what's your name? Which is hilarious to me, because it's kind of like, come out of this man. Oh, what's your name? Why would Jesus ask the name? That seems like a funny thing to do. First of all, because he already knew the name. But why would he do that? Because in August of 2025, he knew that we would be sitting in this room, and he wanted us to know what that demon's name was. He didn't need to know it. He wanted us to know it. So look what it says. He says, "Come out of this man." And then he says, "What is your name?" And the man says, "My name is" what? Come on, my name is what? He replied, for we are many. Now, if you're taking notes, legion is a Roman Empire word meaning 6,000 or more. It's a Roman Empire word meaning 6,000 or more. So here's what he's really saying. He's saying, my name is Legion, for there are 6,000 demons in this man. There are 6,000 of us in here. That's an important part. We'll come back to that in a couple minutes. Very important. That's why Jesus asked, what's your name? Not because he didn't know, because he wanted us to know. 6,000 are inside of there. Okay, here we go. Let's pick it up. Last verse. This is the most important verse. Verse 10. And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. And another word for area in parentheses is what? Come on, one more time. Come on, say it like you mean it. Come on, one more time. Territory. Okay, he begged Jesus again and again. Now, I want to point something out. When Jesus said, get out of this man, the enemy didn't even argue with him. He's just like, yeah, no problem. But the enemy said, but please, I beg you, again and again, I beg you, don't let me leave this territory. I'll leave the man. That's fine. But I don't want to leave the territory. He begged it. Now, why is that so important? Because here's the thing. He was saying, remember our territory. He wasn't so concerned with the man. He was concerned with the territory of the man. Same thing with you and I. It's like, okay, I won't bother you, but I'm going to mess up your marriage, and I'm going to mess up your finances. I'm going to mess up your career and your spiritual lives and your emotional health and your mental health. I'm going to mess around with your kids. I'm going to do all of that. The enemy quickly is like, yeah, I'll leave the man. Not a problem. But please, I beg you, let me stay in the territory. That's really what he wanted, was the territory. Now, here's the point. Put it on the screen for me. The enemy wasn't concerned with leaving the man. The enemy was concerned with leaving the territory. That's what he was so concerned about. See, that's why some of us in here, man, we have some children that don't want to follow God. Man, we got some grandchildren that don't want to follow God. Some of us in here, man, we got finances that are a mess. We got marriages that are barely hanging on. We got all these messes. That's because the enemy's going, I don't need to mess with you. I just want to mess with your territory. Clearly, that's the issue here in Mark chapter 5. Now, all of us have that stuff going on. And all of us have these things where the enemy attacks in our territory. I do a lot of flying. I told you earlier probably about 170 to 180 flights a year is how many times I fly, which is a lot. Now, it's funny because I fly a lot and my wife still makes fun of me because I'm always the most nervous on the flight. I'm not kind of nervous. I'm always nervous and I fly all the time, you know, and because here's the thing. Have you ever thought about, how many of you have ever flown before? Raise your hand if you've ever been on a plane before. What's the last thing you see before you get on the plane? The word terminal. Who came up with that idea? You ever thought about that? It may as well say you're going to die. And so there it is, like, you know, and so, okay. So now, there's a flight that I got to get on a couple of years back. Southwest Airlines. Southwest is, to me, I don't like them because there's no assigned seating. It's a free-for-all. You get on there, and you go wherever you can. So I'm one of the last to get on this plane. No assigned seating. And I'm looking, and all there are middle seats. I hate middle seats. I find a middle seat. I'm sitting in the middle seat. Right next to me at the window, now pay attention, right next to me at the window is a lady that's no more than 100-pound little lady, and she's reading a book. That's who you want to sit next to. Little hint for your traveling. Sit next to the lady who doesn't pay attention except for her book. That's it. But on the other side, on the aisle, I'm in the middle, is this guy. He's got to be 6'5". His head's way up here. He's like 300 pounds. He is a monster of a dude. He's so big, he's bleeding into my side. Like, you know, and I'm like $60 worth. And he's kind of going like this. And I'm just sitting there, big old monster of a linebacker of a guy. His phone rings as they're packing up and getting ready to shut the door. His phone rings, he gets on the phone. Lady comes by a couple minutes later, flight attendant, said, sir, really nice, you got to get off the phone. We're about to take off. And he goes, yeah, I'll get off in a minute. And I thought, ooh, that was kind of rude, but okay, whatever. So she comes by. Now we're pulling back from the terminal. And she comes by a second time. She goes, sir, we're pulling back. You got to get off the phone now. He looked at her, he goes, I'll get off when I want to. And I thought, ooh, this is going to get good, you know. So I grabbed my peanuts and got ready for the show. And then we're there. Now we're out on the runway. And he's still on the phone and we're on the runway. And then all of a sudden she comes back over, sir, now. You have to hang up your phone now. And he said, I'll get off the phone when I want to, you, and then said a bunch of bad words to her. Everything horrible you could say to a woman, this guy said to her, and then she started defending herself, and he kept saying bad things to her, and I turned around like, someone's got to get involved, someone bigger than me. And I'm looking around going, is anybody going to do it? Nope, I guess it's me. So I got involved, and he's yelling at me. He's just letting her have it. I mean, he's a big old dude. And I looked at him and I said, dude, this is exactly what I said. Dude, can't you be nice? He looked at me. It took forever because he's so big. He looked at me, he goes, what did you say to me? And I changed it. I said, do you have any ice? You have to be quick. It's survival out there. And so he finally gets off the phone and we take off. Now, we take off in the rain. If you've ever done that before, it's kind of a little shaky in the rain. But then all of a sudden, you go through 5 to 7 minutes of storm, the clouds. Your goal is to get above the clouds because when you're above the clouds, it's blue sky again. Even though it's raining below you, you're above the rain. It's really wild. So you take off on the plane. It's kind of shaking a little bit when it gets in the rain. Then all of a sudden, we get into the clouds. And I'm telling you, this thing goes bam, bam. And I am nervous the whole time. And I love that people tighten up their seatbelt because that'll make a difference from 30,000 feet in the air. And people are tightening up their seatbelt, and I'm the one that's yelling out, this is it! Glory, hallelujah, just yelling stuff out. And the plane is going bam, bam, bam. It's just going like this right through the storm. And then 5 to 7 minutes of this thing, just this plane's just going crazy. Then all of a sudden, boom, we rise above. And all of a sudden, there's blue sky and peace and calm. Now, I think about our own lives, and I think about the stuff the enemy puts us through, the territory that he fights against us, and all the stuff. Some of us in here, man, your marriage ain't going right, and you're almost about to throw in the towel. Your finances ain't going right. The kids, you haven't prayed about that situation in 2 months. You're like, it is what it is. And I just think the enemy's just trying to pull you away from that. But here's what we got to do. Man, when we go through that cloud right there, we got to keep on fighting. We keep on fighting because eventually we will get to the blue sky. If you quit, you're never going to get there. Please understand something. You might want to write this down. It won't come up on the screen. You cannot change what you choose to tolerate. You cannot change what you choose to tolerate. You got to be willing to say, man, I want to change, and I'm willing to fight through this change. Now, let me give you the second thought real quick. Put it on the screen for me if we could. The enemy doesn't just fight for where you are. He fights for where you're going. This is the most important part. Man, if you don't get anything else, listen to me. Don't miss this part. He doesn't just fight you for where you are. He fights you for where you're going. Okay, please understand. He knows what your future could look like. Some of you in here, he knows that you're called to the ministry. He knows you could start a business. He knows you could write a book that could change the world. He knows that about you. The enemy doesn't just fight you for the territory you have right here today. He fights for where you're going. Now, think back for a moment. Okay, what was the demon's name? Jesus says, what is your name? As if he didn't know the name. What is your name? What was the guy's name? Legion, which means how many? 6,000 or more. Okay, hold on, just stop with me. What was this man's potential that the enemy thought, I got to put 6,000 demons in this one? What was he trying to stop? What was he trying to not happen? What did he see in him? What potential did he see in this man? When you put 6,000, but he's been doing that for a long time. With Jesus, when Jesus was just a baby, what did the enemy orchestrate with Herod? Let's kill all the babies under 2, because I think the enemy looked over at Jesus and said, oh, I know what this kid's going to do. Well, how about Moses in the Old Testament 4,000 years ago? When Moses is born, he orchestrates with Herod, with Pharaoh, and he says, okay, let's kill all the babies under 2, just like they did with Jesus. I think because the enemy looked down and he saw Moses and just thought, I know what this kid can do. I think of Vivian, great friend of mine, Vivian, and when she was 15 years old, she was pregnant at 15 and in juvenile hall. Pregnant at 15 and in juvenile hall. All the administrators and counselors told her, abort the baby, abort, because this baby's not going to have any life. She decided not to abort the baby. She had the baby in juvenile hall, got out of juvenile hall, married the man that got her pregnant. They're still married today. They had a little boy. They named him Hector. And Hector right now at this moment is getting ready for his services in Sacramento because he's the lead pastor of a church of 1,500 people. I'm just thinking out loud, Pastor Jason. I think the enemy just looked inside of that womb of that mom and said, oh, I see what that boy's going to do. And I'm going to take care of that problem right now. I think of my own life. When I grew up in Southern California, I was born in Long Beach Memorial Hospital. Same place where Tiger Woods was born, different financial outcomes. But I was born there in Long Beach, California. I was the youngest of 5 kids. And I'll never forget, my mom always would tell me the story. I don't remember it because I was only 2 years old. I'm 2 years old. I'm the youngest of 5. There's a birthday party across the street in some pool. Some people have a pool in the back of their house. All the neighborhood kids are over there, and moms and dads, like 30 or 40 people, my mom said. And she said, we were all there, and we're all having a good time. I'm sure I'm 2 years old. I'm running around my diapers, and they're probably just letting my feet get wet or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the ice cream man comes by. How many remember the ice cream man that played the music? Remember that guy? He was half on, drugs and whatever. But anyway, he was the one yelling out, you want a snow cone, kids? And anyway, so the ice cream man, bling, the music starts playing, and they all run out there to get ice cream. Like, everybody runs out there. Story goes that my mom ran on this side thinking my dad had me. My dad went on this side thinking my mom had me, and I was left in the backyard as a 2-year-old. And I fell into the pool, into the deep end, and I was laying at the bottom. And my sister, and the only reason I'm alive, is my sister came back to grab her towel, and she grabbed her towel and pulled it off the chair. She looked over and saw me in the deep end, dove in, and got me. Otherwise, I'm not here today. Now, I don't think I'm anything special. I think we're all special in God's eyes. But I just wonder if the enemy looked down and thought, for a little 2-year-old kid in diapers, oh, I know what this kid's going to do, and I'm going to take care of that problem right now. I think he does that with a lot of us in here. Some of us in here, you barely made it past birth. Some of you almost died at birth. Some of you barely made it past your childhood or your teenage years because of the way you grew up, because of the things that happened, because of the abuse that you faced. Some of you, even as adults, the betrayal that you faced, the hurt that you faced, the pain that you went through. It's amazing that you're sitting here. And some of us could look at it and go, man, you don't know my life. I grew up with a dad that hated me. I grew up with a mom that was on drugs. I grew up with this. And you might feel like, man, I didn't get a fair shake. And I'm just thinking this from a totally different perspective. I'm on the other side thinking, what does the enemy think your potential is that he keeps trying to mess with your life? We look and say, I'm not a fair shake. And I'm thinking, oh, no. He put 6,000 in one guy because he thought, boy, this guy's got something. I bet he's looking down at you, the enemy, and he's just thinking, I see what this person could do. He sees your potential. Some of you in here, you're meant to start a business. Some of you in here are called to ministry. Some of you here, God's got bigger plans for your life. I believe that. I don't think God's done with you. If you're 15 years old in here, God ain't done with you. If you're 85 years old in here, God ain't done with you. He's got a plan for your life. And we got to fight and say, man, enemy, I know that you're not just concerned about my potential. You're concerned about my future potential. He sees what we could be, and it frightens me. You ever thought about this? I think at times the enemy sees more potential in us than we see in ourselves. He sees what we could be. He sees what we could do. And you know what happens? Is that we let fear get in the way. And we let doubt get in the way. And we let insecurity get in the way. And here's a big one. This is probably the biggest one. From becoming all God intended you to be, we let other people's opinions get in the way. Don't we? We let other people's opinion get in the way. You know what I've noticed, Pastor Jason? I've noticed that people that are above me are trying to pull me up, and people that are below me are always trying to pull me down. People that want to pull you down, they want to pull you down to a level that's comfortable for themselves. You know why they do that? Because your desire for excellence threatens their mediocrity. That's why they do it. And we have to just decide, hey, man, God, I know you've got something big for my life, not only now, but in the future, and I know the enemy's trying to take that away. You got to just say, no, I'm not going to put up with that. Here's the bottom line. Put it on the screen again, that graphic. Here we go. That was the territory. Remember all of our territory? We all have that. Some of it, doesn't apply to all of us, but some of that stuff applies to you, okay? That's your territory. The enemy's fighting for that. Take a look at the next one real quick. On the left side, that's your present territory. We've already been talking about that, but it's the red side. It's your future. He sees the success you could have. He sees the business idea that could finance this church and hundreds of others. He sees the kingdom impact you could have. He sees the influence you could have in your city or in your nation or in the world. He sees the books that you're supposed to write. The enemy sees the churches that we're supposed to rescue here. He sees all of our future territory, and it frightens him. And I think he not only is frightened by you individually, I think he's frightened by this church. The amount of growth that we've seen in this church has been tremendous. And I think we're just getting started, Pastor Jason. I want this. Let's keep doing it. Let's add services. Let's add campuses. Let's reach thousands of people. Let's just keep on doing it for Jesus. And he sees. And the enemy sees it. And he's always trying to hinder us, always trying to hurt us, always trying to pull us back, always trying to say, that's not your responsibility. He's doing all these things because he sees the potential of the body of Christ, and he sees the potential of your life. He sees it, and it frightens him. Now, what do we do with all of that? There's two simple words that we need to do. Put it on the screen for me, and that is this. We need to fight back. Come on, I want you to say it out loud with me. 1, 2, 3. What do we got to do? You got to fight back. You can't sit back and just let your marriage just be average. You can't sit back and let your finances be average. You can't sit back and say, well, this is the best it's going to get. This is the best my life's going to get. This is the best the church is going to get. I'll never write that book. I guess I'll never. We can't sit. We got to fight back. I told the first service, we don't serve an average God. Amen? We don't serve an average God. You ever thought about that? Have you ever seen that song came out years ago? How great is our God? Sing with me, how great. It doesn't say how average is our. Could you imagine us singing that? God, you're so average. We love your beige. Like, could you imagine? That's not who God is. That's not what he wants for our life. That's not what he wants for you. He wants the best. But there's an enemy always fighting. You got to fight back. You got to fight back for America's churches. We're going to do that in a minute. You got to fight back for your own potential. You got to fight back for this church. You got to fight back for your marriage, all of that, for your finance, for your kids, for your grandkids. You got to fight back. Now, how do you fight back? There's two ways of doing it. And we'll come on the screen. Ready? Here are the two ways. Number one, prayer life. How do you fight back? You got to get a prayer life. If you don't have a prayer life, get one. If you don't know how to do that, talk to one of the staff. They'll talk to you about that. It's not that complicated. It's just having a conversation with God every single day. Every morning I wake up, first thing I do is spend time with the Lord without fail. And I spend time with him. And I love my prayers because I kind of pray towards God and talk to him, thank him for things, ask him some things, help me with this. And then I always love to close my prayer. And enemy, I know you're listening in, you eavesdropper. And I always love doing this. Get your hands off the church. Get your hands off my friends. Get your hands off my family. Get your hands off the finances. Get your hands off. I love doing that. It's fighting in the prayer life. But secondly, write this down, you got to fight it with your thought life, your prayer life and your thought life. There's a lot that goes on in here, isn't it? I think the battle is won and often lost inside of the mind. It often is. The Bible says in Proverbs 17 that your life is shaped by your thoughts. Isn't that interesting? The thoughts are always out in front. Your life is shaped by the thoughts. However you think, that's what happens. Handful of years ago, I was speaking regularly at one of our campuses. I don't anymore, but I was speaking regularly at one of our campuses. And we had, at that time, 100, 125, something like that, employees. It's a big church, a lot of campuses, blah, blah, blah. So we had 100, 120, and we had 125 big old, kind of staff meeting or whatever, and, this team thing we do with all the staff. One of the guys raises his hand and goes, hey, man, I'm going to be doing in the staff meeting. An associate pastor goes, I want to do a weight loss thing. With 120 employees there. I want to do a weight loss thing. I'm going to try to lose weight in the next 3 months. If anybody wants to join me, let me know. So everybody messages them. 30 people message them, hey, we want to do the weight loss too. And I included that in there. So he pulled a little powwow together in one of the rooms. A couple days later, there was 30 of us. I was sitting in like the third row, and he stands up, okay, we're going to all try to lose weight in the next 3 months, and whoever loses the most weight wins. And I raised my hand, and I'm like, okay, what do we win? I asked the associate pastor. I'm the lead pastor. I go, what do we win? He goes, nothing. I go, well, that's not good. And he goes, what do you think we should do, Pastor Chris? And I said, how about everybody throws in $50? I said, that way, whoever wins, they get all of that money. Because that's what you want to do with your pastoral staff, teach them to gamble. And so they all threw in $50, and we did it for 3 months. I came in third place out of 30, which was good. I didn't come in first place, didn't get the money, but I came in third place. But I'm going to tell you, man, halfway through, Pastor Jason, we're about 6 weeks into it. There's 5 morning services at one of the campuses I'm speaking at. It's the 4th service. The place is packed, and I am hungry. I'm losing weight, but I am so hungry. I look out to the crowd of hundreds and hundreds of people, and they all look like burritos. I am so hungry. I pray over someone. I just see a Dr. Pepper. Communion goes by. I'm like, I'm just, give me more crackers. Just doing whatever I can. I'm so hungry. Now, have you ever heard the term, you are what you eat? You ever heard that before? Isn't that true physically? It's also true spiritually. It's not only true physically, it's true spiritually. You are what you eat. So we get to decide spiritually, are we going to allow the enemy to feed us, or are we not going to allow the enemy to feed us? You are what you eat. You choose, I choose to let the enemy feed us. We're either going to be fed faith or fear. It's going to be one or the other. But we get to choose what the enemy is going to feed us. You are what you eat. Your prayer life and your thought life. Now, wrapping this up, here's the deal. Everyone in here, we all have a territory that we're fighting for. I have a territory I'm fighting for. You have a territory you're fighting for. Yours is a little. If we had time to go around this room, I bet we'd find you probably have a different territory than mine. We all got issues, and we all need to be fighting for our personal territory. But there is a territory that doesn't just belong to us individually. It's all of our responsibility. I'm not responsible for his territory. He's praying for his, I'm praying for mine. We pray for each other, but he's fighting his battle, I'm fighting mine. But there's a battle we all fight, and it's called the territory of America. And the enemy is doing everything he can to take over America. How many used to say that, if you're a little older, you would say, man, America's not the same place it was 20 years ago. How many agree it's not the same place it was 20 months ago? Am I right? Stuff is being passed, and you're going, what are they thinking? You know, it's like common sense has become a superpower, and it just changes. But we've got 3 churches closing for every one that opened, 150 churches closing a week, 84% of churches are in decline. Like, guys, what is it going to look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now? You look around and go, wow, this place is amazing. That's because we have an amazing God and you got amazing pastors, but this is not the normal. Churches dying all over the place. And man, if we don't do something about it, man, it's happening on our watch. So I brought a bunch of pastors together about 5 years ago, put them in a room in Dallas, Texas, in a conference room. And I just said, hey, about 15, 20 pastors. I said, man, we've got a serious issue. We got a serious problem. And I shared with them the problem. And I even shared with them this. Put it on the screen for me. In 1980, the red dots, they represent the saturation of churches in America. Lean in real hard with this one. All the red dots, they represent the saturation of churches in America. Did you know in the 60s and 70s, more people were joining the church than babies were being born? It was unbelievable what God was doing. Then all of a sudden, the year 2000 came. Watch the red dots. They get smaller because there's less churches. We started to close more than we opened. And then fast forward to 2020, just a few years ago, look what happened there. Gets even less, and now we're closing even more. If we stay on the same path for 10 more years, we're in 2025, just in 10 years from now, here's what it'll look like. 2035. The amount of churches that are going away. Guys, especially if you're 40 or over, we got to fight for our kids, and we got to fight for our grandkids. Amen? We want it to be an America of one nation under God, not one nation. We want it to be one nation under God, and we got to fight for that, you guys. So 5 years ago, I got a bunch of pastors together, and I'm just like, guys, we got to do something about it. So we had this idea. What if we take pastors and put them in groups of 6 or 7? We'll put them on. You got a church of 30, you got a church of 40, you got a church of 20. What if we put them into groups, on Zoom call? Watch this. And what if we coach them for up to 2 years for free? We'll pay the coaches. They don't need to pay for it. And then what if they need emergency funding for their 2 months behind in rent? What if we give them $10,000 to help them? And then, but what if we send them on a 4-day soul care retreat to the Rocky Mountains or to Nashville? And Pastor Jason's been there and led a group there, and it's world class. What if we send people there and we pay for that? You guys, we started that 5 years ago, and I am proud and super proud to say that in the last 5 years, we have rescued hundreds of churches. There are 300 churches right now in the program. Isn't that amazing? Come on. 300 churches. And we're seeing God do incredible things. Churches are starting to be rescued, and it's all because healthy churches are helping the unhealthy churches.
Thanks again for listening to this week's message. Be sure to connect with us on social media, the Church Center app, or online at livereallife.com.